Hello everyone, welcome back to Major Hi-Fi. I'm Luke. Today we're going to be talking about Vision Ears VE7 Universal IEMs. Buckle up, get ready, here we go. All right, so IEMs, that was a thud. Wow, okay. IEMs, more gentle, that's better. In the past, many IEMs were exclusively custom before all of you little audiophiles weaseled your way into the market and demanded universal fits. Of course, they existed before that too, but there are many IEMs that were not offered in universal fits until there was more demand. Not to say that I know, the origins of every single release from every company, just a guess, an educated guess. But this is the VE7 from Vision Ears. This is the universal model. I have heard quite a different number of IEMs from Vision Ears. V8, VE, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've heard a lot of, maybe most of them. They're definitely harder to remember the different sounds of since the names are not very distinctive. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I know the general Vision Ears sound. I know the kind of vibe they go for. And I have listened to the VE8 pretty heavily somewhat recently. These run for $16.92, a very specific number. Let's go on ahead and open this box, why don't we? So for starters, we get this really great case, and I'm sure you can guess what's inside. We're gonna get to that in just a minute. Let's get past all the other goodies first. We have a 1/4-inch adapter, a cleaning brush, some extra ear tips courtesy of SpinFit, the ultimate silicone ear tip. We get Vision Ears in-ear cleaner, a cleaning cloth, lots of cleaning materials here, and then some dry caps. We get this braided cable with a 3.5mm termination and some 0.78mm connectors. All right, so do we dare open this box and see what's inside of here? I think we do. Oh my word, as if I've never seen these before. I haven't even looked at them. I haven't spent the past day just staring at these. It's totally first impression. No, I've seen these, but whoa. I mean, am I doing them justice? We'll get some close-ups going on. These things are beautiful, dare I say. I mean, come on, the flashy, shiny, sparkly, awesome look. They definitely give brands like Canara that are super into the whole, extra eye-catching IEM. These definitely give those a run for their money, which few brands manage to do. This holographic look is just truly very beautiful. It has kind of odd lava lamp energy to it. Fit is a standard fit with the kind of curvature, that kind of tries to get as close as you can to a custom-esque fit, even if it's going to be universal, but goes for that very molded ear shape. This is a very common fit we see on many IEMs because it works well. It's got a nice tight ear filling fit. It's very snug, but not gonna rub up in any unpleasant ways because of all of these very curved, smoothed edges. These use 7 balanced armature drivers, 2 for bass, 2 for low mids, 1 for high mids, and 1 for super high. And they have an impedance of 12 ohms, so plenty of output going on here. So they look great, they fit great, they taste great, all of the above. Definitely super successful on the looks, but let's talk about how these sound, why don't we? All right, so soundstage wise, these have a very realistic soundstage, by which I mean it is quite holographic, but it's not going to push past the point of kind of normal comprehension. So it's not going to give you a level of width that is maybe unheard of, by natural hearing. You're not going to hear things spread to the point that they feel almost uncannily holographic, So this makes them great for getting a very accurate, very comfortable picture of any song or mix. It can make them very good for reference, but also very good for casual listening. If you want to listen to something, and just get a nice kind of live in-person feel. Not everybody wants an insane amount of air injected into each mix, each track. These definitely have a very considerate amount of separation, so they know where their place is. They know how far they can go while still sounding plausible, accurate, and like I said, comfortable. They definitely do really excel at separation. There is no sense of stuffiness or crowding whatsoever. So a great clean slate to explore various timbres and sounds and textures on. Just definitely a great IEM for opening up a song, but not totally overshooting the mark, not really overdoing it. You're gonna get a nice cinematic sound, but like I've kept on repeating, it's gonna be a nice organic kind of wide airiness to it. It's gonna be a very believable soundstage. Okay, so low end. These have a pretty neutral, natural, kind of flat tone going onto them. I don't think flat is maybe the best word, because flat implies a bit lackluster, doesn't it? Maybe not to everyone, but to me. They're not really pushing any particular agenda too intensely, but their low end is a bit of an exception to that in certain ways, in that it does have a bit of added flair to it. We definitely get some boosting going on in the low end. It's not totally neutral. I wouldn't call this a namely very, very bassy IEM, but it is an IEM that knows how to make sure that you're getting a nice, full, present low-end response that is going to fill out the bottom area of a mix really, really well. The low end definitely follows that very organic, kind of natural character that we were already starting to develop with the soundstage. It's not very overly formatted or shaped or anything. It keeps a pretty I would say, conservative grip on the low end. It's not over controlling it, but it is still shaping it to some extent, as any IEM is going to, but it really wants to give you an honest presentation, and that is, I think, something that it does very, very well. I said in my written review, which I'll link below, when I was talking about the low end, I said they won't rumble, but perhaps they'll purr. Honestly, a kind of useless sentence, but I thought it was really cute, and also it kind of makes sense, right? Just a good underlying layer, a good base layer, no pun intended, to underlie the rest of the mix to create a really solid foundation that is really just not going to overly interfere with the mix, but not take too much of a backseat. So the mid-range on the VE7 may have been my favorite part. It's a very, very warm, pretty rounded, slightly dampened mid-range, but it does a really good job of not losing any presence. In fact, it brings presence, and that's hard to do when you're kind of adding some warmth, some more rounded coloring to things. Can often kind of subdue areas like vocals and whatnot if the mid-range is not a little bit sharpened, a little bit crisped up. These do a great job of, once again, just adding a very organic sound and texture to things. And not over-interfering, but still making their point of being a really nice and warm, kind of understated boost of presence in that area. It's still fairly neutral sound. It doesn't feel extreme in any sense in terms of what it's presenting from the mid-range. I listened to Song Suggestion, Kaja Bonet and Nicholas Godin, Love Theme, new song. It just came out and I am obsessed with it. I've been listening to it 5 times a day at least. And so I had to test it out on these IEMs, and it was absolutely beautiful, wonderfully fluid, warm presence from the vocals, a lot of just that really velvety texture. It was able to really clean up the strings, but preserve all of their wonderful flavor. And I was just a big fan of how it handled this song. I thought that it did it amazing justice. I thought it was a very commanding presentation of the song that, grabbed your attention, but didn't totally force any parts of the mid-range down your throat, which is quite a good balance to strike, isn't it? So I would call the mid-range on this calmly saturated, a very calming, serene saturation to it, if that makes sense, if that floats your boat. All right, so the high end on the VE7 perhaps receives the most warmth and smoothing and dampening of any part of the frequency spectrum on these. These definitely have a slightly dark sound to them. I don't even know if that's quite the right word to use, but maybe some would feel it was that way. They do maintain a fair amount of shine despite the fact that they are quite colored in the high end, which is really nice. A little bit of the best of both worlds going on there in terms of getting some shine and some dampness at the same time. But yeah, definitely not an intensely shiny IEM by any means, and this sort of further contributes to that very natural, very organic sound. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say that now. I apologize. It's just matter of fact how these do sound, at least to me. So this sort of very ambient, somewhat subdued high end makes these a very forgiving IEM. We're not gonna get any sibilance, any harshness from them. We're gonna get very smooth sailing, very easy listening, and that makes these quite pleasant to listen to, especially for those that don't want a ton of bite going on. These definitely achieve detail in a more mature way. I don't know if I like that word. But you know, it's easy to boost detail in a kind of sloppy way by just pushing the kind of 8 to 16K range a bunch and just basically turning up all of those textures in that area, and thereby kind of tricking you into thinking there's more detail retrieval going on. These do it more so just in how they're able to handle the song and the dynamics really well, so they don't need to boost the high end in those shiny areas so much because they're able to bring out that detail just in terms of their actual functionality, and they don't need to just give you a ton of boosting going on the high end to feel very defined and realistic and detailed. So I really enjoyed that about the high end and just about these overall as an IEM in terms of their ability to have that more neutral response but not feel like they were dull in any way. In comparison to the VE8, which runs for quite a bit more than these, but is, you know, the next number on the scale, so I guess it's not inappropriate to be wondering how it might compare. The VE8 is pretty darn different than these. The VE8 is quite snappy and quite a bit of extra bite going on by comparison. So if you want a bit more intensely crisp, punchy IEM, then maybe the VE8. These focus their punch a bit more on the lower areas of the low end, whereas the VE8 is a bit more of that kind of high-low attack-heavy punch. So the VE7 has a little bit more of a kind of softer punch, if that makes sense. A bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? But it's got a little bit more of that kind of guttural punch to it, whereas the VE8 is more of that kind of slap impact punch. So the VE8 is that poppy, snappy sound, whereas the VE7 is that kind of neutral, dampened character. They do both share a pretty warm low end and just an overall warmer sound. I think Vision Ears is just a very warm IEM brand in general, but the VE7 is definitely a very different vibe than the VE8, if you couldn't already tell from what I've been saying. So yeah, overall, the VE7 I think is a real home run from Vision Ears. I'm a big fan of how these are able to be so neutral, but not excessively to the point that we're like losing flavor or character going on from songs. They really do a good job of being both likable for those who want them for live performance and mixing, and those who want them for casual listening. They definitely excel in both areas, which is quite hard to do. These seem to kind of know what they want to sound like, they know their mission, and they complete it very well. They're definitely an IEM that you can trust to give you good sound and consistency throughout any listen across a lot of different genres. And I had a lot of trouble putting them down after doing this review. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the VE7 that I didn't answer. I'm sure many of you are quite excited to get your hands on this universal fit version of this much beloved model. So yeah, leave me any comments, any questions, things I didn't answer. I will link below to Major Hi-Fi's IEM ranking tool. You can compare these to other IEMs for Vision Ears or other companies, etc. I will also, like I said, link to my written review. And yeah, I'll be back soon with some more reviews and videos. And until next time, happy listening.